Alright, I just want to give a brief content warning before we get started. There is going to be a discussion of sexual assault at some point in this video. I'm not sure when because this one is more rambly and not as well thought out, but I will give a very big giant sexual assault discussion incoming. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear it when that does happen. Castlevania Season 4 aired yesterday at the time of me recording this. So the entire series is now over, and I just wanted to discuss the last season as well as overall my opinion on the whole show. So back when Season 1 did come out, I didn't know what Castlevania was. I had never even heard of it. There was an Honest Games trailer about that, and I watched that back when I watched Honest trailers, but, I didn't know much, and then it got recommended to me on Netflix, and I'm like, you know what, I'll watch it, and I kind of fell in love with it so hard, so fast. I thought it was amazing, and then it only had 4 episodes, and it's like, what do you mean? Season 1 only has 4 episodes, and I gotta wait a year and a half for the next episode, and yeah, so I think Season 1 is definitely still my favorite. Season 2 is my second favorite. Season 3 it's my least favorite season. And then Season 4 is going to be placed in third. But, I think the first 2 seasons are the best seasons, and I'm going to get into why later. And then Season 3 and 4 just kind of, muddle it a bit. Well, I think one of the reasons that Season 2 and Season 1 are so good is because they do actually have, Castlevania 3 to follow, and they stick to that closer versus the other 2 seasons, which feel they're definitely taking elements from games. I've never actually played the games, but I'm a Wikipedia diver, so you give me a franchise, I will dive down, I will go see what's going on. It's just how I am. So I have all this lore in my head for a game that I've never even played. But I think taking just random elements from random games didn't really work out in the show's favor. I always felt like if the show was going to go on for longer that they shouldn't have killed off Dracula as fast. I know a point of the games is that people are constantly bringing back Dracula from the dead, but it's also it doesn't work as well for a TV series, just because you just killed off your big main villain 2 seasons in, and the show is 4 seasons long, and it's oh, what are we gonna do for the next 2 seasons? I don't know, you tell me. It felt like that. And it definitely felt that way at the end of Season 2. When they got to the library in the Belmont place, it felt like they got to Dracula way too fast. It felt like there needed to be a step between the library and them getting Dracula, and that was a problem with the overall writing of Season 2, which is why it's my second favorite and not my favorite. A lot of people say Season 2 is better. I say Season 1 is still the best, even though it's only 4 episodes long. It's got the best pacing out of the whole show, okay? And also just Trevor's my favorite character. Well, they're all my favorites. The trio is my favorite character. I just said that. They're all one character now. Ow, my arm. I could keep hitting my that bone in your elbow that sticks out. I hit it a lot, and it's I feel it'd be one thing if I just felt it there, but it travels up my arm, and it fucking sucks. This is completely useless to the review. Okay, I'm gonna talk about Season 4, and I'm going to talk about the stuff that I didn't like first. My issue with Season 4 is that throughout most of it, I'm kind of just I'm bored, and that's because I didn't get as attached as to other characters as I did the trio, and I think that was a real detriment to the show, is that they introduce a lot of characters, but they don't really make you like them as much as you like Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor. So you're stuck with these characters that you don't really care about as the show goes on and on, with a plot that overall doesn't actually matter. I'm legit serious. I think Isaac had one of the better plots, but still overall, what is meant to be the big arcing plot of the show, which is stuff in the castle and the three main characters, it ended up not having an impact there. And I felt like it was a waste of time. Like, it's not to say that I didn't enjoy the other characters, like, the four vampire ladies, like, yes, like, if they had more to do and they like had an overall impact on the main storyline, I think it would have been better. Like they didn't do a very good job of weaving those three storylines. They actually did a good job of like Isaac's storyline and then like Hector's storyline, like getting those two to mesh up at the end. I think if that was like its own series, it would have been better. Or if they were like, oh, like this season we're gonna have like, because like Castlevania, you could like do that where like you don't, it felt like Castlevania could like have a season where it's not about the trio, and that would have been fine because just the way the games are, they like jump around, they change protagonists. But like when they weave it together with a season 3 plot that like for the trio didn't work at all and like was not a good season for the trio. I think if they like were like, hey, this season's not about the trio, we're gonna stick to like the villains you saw last season, and we're gonna tie their ends together, because I think that could have been like a good own season 3, like kind of like one-off, sort of like the second season of Spartacus, where like it doesn't really have anything to do with, you know, the big overarching plot, but also at the same time that one ended up like actually mattering to the plot later. The things I know, the things I watch, the things I think about. And I think that would have been better for the overall show. But also at the same time, in the end, I felt like the other two plots of the two of them, like Isaac's ended up in season 3 being the only one that really mattered, because they don't really acknowledge season 3 for the vampire ladies, aside from the fact that like the three other vampire ladies exist. Like, so like in season 3 there's a scene where Lenore essentially like rapes Hector, and then in season 4 they just never acknowledge that happened. It just stops. It's never acknowledged. He's like, oh, I'm totally cool with your existence and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? She is literally A, enslaving you, B, she raped you. And you're like in a pseudo sort of relationship with her. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck, Warren Ellis? Like, what did I expect from Warren Ellis? Like, you know, this makes sense for him, given he's a garbage human being. Both sexual assault scenes in season 3 don't come up at all in the following. Well, it comes up for like 2 seconds with Alucard in another scene, but overall they don't matter. Like, they're never brought up. They're not seen as like actual trauma, and it's like, guys, the characters were traumatized. Are you gonna bring that up? You can't just suddenly be okay with all that. Like, oh fuck, I just hit that. Like, okay, sometimes when, like, to use Marvel as an example, something will happen to, say, a character like Loki, and the entire fan base will yell, oh my god, he now has new trauma! And it's like, bitch, it's not that deep all the time. Sometimes bad things happen to people, and it's not that traumatic. Like, I fell down the stairs one time. Do I have trauma around stairs now? No, it's not always traumatic. But, like, when you do stuff that is most likely going to be actually traumatic, acknowledge the trauma, please. I did think, like, moving on from, like, the actual plot thing, I liked Hector and Isaac meeting up again. I'm kind of shipping it now. Oh my god, why am I like this? I was like, no, Hector, get away from Lenore. Run away with Isaac. You guys, come on. I keep kicking things. Oh my fucking god. And then there was Okay, the fight scene between Carmilla and Isaac, that was epic. That was awesome. Like, that was cool as fuck. Like, the animation on this show, especially in the fight scenes, is really gorgeous. Especially when they do that anime thing where, like, it all, like, switches the colors around and, like, they're all in black and white. And I'm like, that's awesome. I'm constantly hitting my desk, too. And that, like, Carmilla is also just fucking, like, I love her speech. Everything about Carmilla is great. Like, Carmilla, I love her so much. Like, she is my favorite of like, the villains, just simply because she's like, yes, you continue to be like that. You continue to want to screw over men. It's great. I did love Striga and Morana just going, yeah, no, fuck this. We're gonna go live our best lesbian lives away from here. And I'm like, thank you. You go, girl. I hit this mic constantly. What the fuck? Yeah, but I think overall that's pretty much my thoughts on those storylines. So now we're going to talk about the trio. And by that I mean how they're split up again for most of the season. Like, the problem with Castlevania is that the first 2 seasons sell you on Sypha, Trevor, and Alucard being a trio, and then the next 2 seasons they spend most of it not being a trio. And is it because they're my OT3 that I'm upset that they're not interacting? Half yes, but also they're just the carrying point of the show. The writing was so good for them when they're together, and you can tell that they're at their best when they're together, and I'll get to that later. But we will start with Alucard's plot. Alucard is traumatized from the following season. Of course he is, and a rider, a dead rider on a horse, shows up to his house, and it's like, hey, nearest village, we need some help. And so he goes to the village of Dynasty, where he meets a woman named Greta. And from what I can tell, this is meant to be like the version of Grant Dynasty from the games, and I am down for that. However, a lot of people are yelling, oh, we have an OT4 now. And I'm like, bitch, I need to see the full OT4 interact in order for it to be an OT4 to me. Like, I know some people can just go like, oh, these characters have never interacted. Great couple. And like, I get why y'all do that, but like, I can't really do it. Like, I don't see them as an OT4 because I never see all 4 of them do stuff together. Like, I need that in my life in order for me to ship the OT4. And if they had introduced Greta earlier and like actually made them like a 4-man band, for lack of a better term, then I could get behind the OT4. But right now, I'm sticking with the OT3. I do like Greta, like, even though the downside of this season is that they introduce a bunch of new characters, and it's like, guys, we're on the last season. I would like to spend it with the characters I enjoy. And when shows do that, it's not fun. It's not fun to suddenly just get an influx of characters when you're trying to enjoy the last season of characters you love. And, you know, I would like to enjoy the characters I love. I think they were like trying to be like, Greta and Alucard, they got a romance, and I'm like, I love Greta. She's a bisexual polyam queen, but the writing is such awkward dialogue. I felt it when they were trying to like get Sypha and Trevor together in season 2. Like, you could feel the awkward like dialogue being so stiff. And like, I like Trevor and Sypha together because like, honestly, like, they're not just trying to be like awkward. We're gonna be in a romance. It's fine. They have really good dialogue interactions. They work well together. It's good. But when they're trying to like hint that they're gonna be a thing, it's just so awkward. When they're just a thing, it's fine. When they're trying to like push it, it's not fine. And I felt that with Greta and Alucard as well. And his whole plot is he has to take the village. He goes to the village to protect it from the demons. And then who should be there but Saint fucking Germain. I fucking hate Saint Germain. I skipped like 80% of his scenes in season 2, and he was still on screen far too often. Also, his whole plot in season 2, not season 2, it's season 3. His whole plot in season 3 is actually like fucking meaningless. It means nothing. He could have been a random dude because they introduce his whole backstory there, and I fucking hate him. I hate him so much. He's so annoying. I still skipped like 80% of his backstory when I was watching season for, because once you get the idea that he wants to bring back Dracula, you're like, okay, I get what's going on. Why do I need to continue being here? And like, again, I skipped most of it. I got what I needed. He's going to bring back Dracula, and he's going to set night creatures out in the village. So, Trevor and Sypha's plot is that they, for like several weeks, they're just like going around stopping people who are trying to resurrect Dracula. It's actually like hilarious when Trevor finds out that one, like another vampire is trying to resurrect Dracula. He's like, fuck this, I hate you, I want to kill you again. Like, why would you do this? I hate my life. And I'm like, yes, I've missed my trash man. This trash man is just great. I love him. He's awesome. Trevor became my favorite character in like season 1 so hard, so fast. Like, the trio is just great. I love the trio. So they eventually get to Targovishta, which is the city where Lisa was burned at the stake. And then they're met by the captain of the guard, Zoifa. I'm hoping I'm remembering that correctly. This is what I meant when I said they introduced too many new characters, because it's like, we're going to make you care. And it's like, you didn't make me care. The guard for the royal family of Targovishta. And they're kind of like ignoring like the actual people, and Sypha and Trevor are like, you know, we need to like help these people, and they're trying to help them reorganize. And then eventually they get taken to the king and queen, and it's like, oh, the king and queen are dead, but there's all these like magical artifacts down there, and the night creatures find them, and there's this vampire named Varani. He'll become important later, and he's like trying to find the hoard of like magical stuff, and he finds one of those mirrors that like they're able to like hop through or like message other people in order to like contact them. If someone else has a mirror, you can contact them, but the mirror can also be a portal. So Varney hops through the mirror, and it takes him to Dracula's castle, where there is a giant attack. Alucard and Greta are like fighting the things off, as well as the villagers are fighting things off. And when I saw the mirror, I'm like, oh my god, the trio is gonna get reunited, because that's all I'd been waiting for all season. I was like so frustrated that the trio weren't together, and now suddenly they're gonna be together. I'm like, oh my god. And Trevor and Sypha like run and hop through the thing, and it's like, oh my god, they're gonna be reunited. And then it cuts to like the black, because it's gonna start the next episode, and like the next episode starts, and it's like a little leeway, because like, and like Alucard is backed into a corner, and it looks like he's gonna get attacked, and then suddenly like a fire blast and the fucking whip like hit through and destroy the demon that's gonna attack him, and like they hop through, and it's so good. It's great. It's awesome, because like, okay, so like the trio are at their strongest when they're together, and that whole fight scene is just like the biggest like example of that. Like I love the trio so much, and it's so satisfying when they're finally back together. And like, maybe that's why they were separated for 2 whole seasons, so that by the time like they're together, you're like lying on the floor crying, oh my god, they're finally back together. And I guess the rest of the plot is important. There's a plot to this show. I was so focused on my OT3, I forgot about the plot. But the plot of the show continues. Once they defeat a bunch of the things, Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor, they run upstairs, and they're like, oh, okay, we gotta stop this dude from bringing back Dracula. And they're able to do that, but Sypha and Alucard end up on a different point in the castle, because the castle explodes. And Trevor fights Death, because Varney turned out to be Death, and he's like a death vampire. He's not actually like Death. He's like, I'm a vampire who feeds on death. And Trevor, it seems, like fucking dies, but it turns out Saint Germain was able to teleport him into like a thing, and he showed up 2 weeks later alive. That was good. And then Sypha, it turns out, is pregnant, and I know the OT3 isn't actually canon, but they feel canon at the end, because there's like this moment where like Alucard is helping up Trevor, and they're smiling at each other, and then they look at Sypha and they smile, and it's like, What's happening, guys? What's happening? Tell me. Tell me. Is this a leverage situation where like they wanted to get them together, but like the Netflix was like, no. Leverage Redemption better put my trio together. That's all I'm saying. Where was I? Okay, and then the final thing, fucking Dracula and Lisa are alive at the end because they were able to briefly resurrect them and it worked enough, and they're like, yep, they're alive. And it's like, the fuck, bitch. It's something. I thought that was weird, and they're like, oh, but they get to be a happy couple. And it's like, Dracula kind of destroyed the world, guys. Like, I'm not sure how I emotionally feel about that. Emotionally confused is the word. Yeah, that's the word. I'm emotionally confused. Overall, like, Castlevania has, like, a lot of high points. It's got a lot of low points. I think overall, the ending is a lot more satisfying. Like, there's some things in there. I think the journey is messy, but the ending is good. That's the way I would describe it. Honestly, if you want to, like, skip the last 2 seasons, I get it. Because, like, the first 2 seasons do feel like a complete storyline, and then sometimes the last 2 seasons feel like a little bit of a drag. Or you could just skip all the Saint Germain parts, and then it will feel like less of a drag. I'm saying that there's good stuff in Castlevania, there's bad stuff in Castlevania. I'm glad I watched it. Alright. General reminder that this has all been my opinion, and I will see you all next time.